Hi everyone, welcome to Enlightened Biology. Here we are with another session from the lesson Sexual Reproduction in Flowering Plants. And in this session, we are going to discuss about the female part. Okay, the female part is referred as gynoecium, and this is the whole of carpel. The individual unit of gynoecium is carpel, and the entire whole of carpel is referred as gynoecium. So flowers can be identified as monocarpellary and multicarpellary based on number of carpels present. If the flower has just one carpel, then it is referred as monocarpellary flower. If it is having multiple carpel, then it is referred as multicarpellary. When there are multiple carpels, they can occur either freely or they can occur fused with each other. Carpels are fused with each other. Fused carpels are free, which are not attached with each other. So the condition where carpels are fused is referred as syncarpous. If they are free, it is referred as apocarpous. I just like to follow this method. In fuse there is S and the syncarpous starts with S. So I used to connect these two and remember, fused carpels are syncarpous, free carpels are apocarpous. And what are the examples we have here? For multicarpellary fused carpel, the example is papaver. For multicarpellary apocarpous condition, the example is Michelia. Okay, it is very important to remember this. Refer the diagrams also from the textbook. They are going to be very useful for the objective questions. So here we are going to discuss with the parts of the pistil. There are three major parts in a pistil, that is stigma, style and ovary. Here it is marked in the diagram. The sticky part is the stigma. It is serving as a landing platform for pollen. Style is a long, slender structure, a tube-like structure which connects stigma with the swollen end of that style. Okay, so one end of the style is stigma, other end is swollen, and the swollen end is known as ovary, and the space within the ovary is known as ovarian cavity, which is also referred as locule. And usually in the ovarian cavity there will be ovule present, and the ovule is attached to the ovarian cavity with the help of a placenta. Like in human, we have placenta which connects the growing fetus with the mother, and the same way here there is placenta which connects the ovule with the ovary, that is from the parent to the parent. Okay, so based on the number of ovule, we could identify the plant. Some of the flowers have just one ovule, whether others have many ovule. Example for the flowers with one ovule includes wheat, paddy, mango, because you could just see there only one seed. Okay, because after fertilization the ovule is going to develop into seed. If there is just one ovule, the outcome, the yield is going to have just one seed. You could see the same in the mango fruit. It has just one seed, and the grains such as wheat, paddy all have just one seed covered. Okay, in the same way you could check that with a neem tree. Neem fruits also just only one seed they will have. There are other varieties where there will be many seeds, which indicates that the presence of many ovules in the flower. Okay, like papaya, watermelon, orchids, pumpkin, fig. In the fig fruit we have many seeds over there, even tomato. So this indicates those flower has numerous ovule. Those flowers which have numerous ovule have numerous seeds. Okay, is that clear? Okay, so within the ovarian cavity, what is ovarian cavity? The gap or the space within the ovary is ovarian cavity, which is also referred as ovule. The space within the ovarian cavity is referred as the space within the ovary is called ovarian cavity or locule, and within that ovule is present and connected with the ovary with the help of the placenta. There are various types of ovule present, but in angiosperm we have anatropous ovule. Okay, it's very important. 90% of angiospermic plants have anatropous ovule. Anatropous means inverted. So it is generally going to be an inverted ovule. How do we identify whether the ovule is inverted or not? We will check it out later. First, let's learn about this. There are various types of ovules present in the plant. The very common one in angiosperm is anatropous. Okay, so let us have a look at the anatropous ovule here. This is how you have to draw the anatropous ovule. In the textbook, you could see that the diagram is in another way where the micropyle is drawn on the top of it, but this is actually the correct way of drawing it. So what are the various parts you could see here? There are layers, outer layers, which are referred as integuments. The covering of the ovule are referred as integument, and here you could see this is the outer integument and the second layer is the inner integument. In some plants the ovule have both outer and inner integuments, in other just one layer, so then it is commonly referred as integument. So outer integument is present, inner integument is present, and the next layer we have is a layer of nucellus. Okay, even though we have drawn here just line, these line actually represent a layers of cells over there. So one or two layers of outer integument, another layer of inner integument, and then a mass of nucellus is present. Okay, nucellus is usually parenchymatous cells. So within nucellus we have embryo sac, which is the female gametophyte. So embryo sac here given. Okay, this entire thing, it is the female gametophyte. So what is in the female gametophyte? There are antipodals and bipolar nuclei with a big central cell. Then there is egg apparatus. This egg apparatus consists of egg in the middle, and at both the sides synergids are present. On the synergids, some finger-like projections are there, which is referred as filiform apparatus. And the integuments are not continuous. They have an open, and the opening part of the integument is referred as micropyle. The opposite end of the micropyle is referred as chalaza. So here is the chalaza end and this is the micropyle end. So in a normal ovule, which is referred as orthotropous ovule, micropyle is always going to be on the top. Okay, so in anatropous ovule, that is down. That is why it is referred as inverted, upside down. It is upside down. Okay, micropyle is going to be down, chalaza is going to be up, which is completely opposite of the regular ovule. That is why it is referred as anatropous ovule. So what are the other parts we could see here? We could see there is funicle and then hilum. These are the other two important parts we have to look at. So what is this funicle? Funicle is the stack of the ovule. Like we have a flower stack, leaf stack. In the same way, this is a stack of the ovule. This stack helps in attaching the ovule with the placenta present on the ovary. So here this area is going to be the placenta, a small piece of tissue present which is going to connect the funicle via the funicle with the ovary, I mean. Okay, and then here you could see this part. This part actually indicates the connection between the ovule with the funicle. The ovule stack is connected with the ovule by this part, and that line exactly is referred as hilum. So what are the various parts we have seen here? First there is placenta, the connection which provides the connection between the ovary and ovule, and a sac arises from that called funicle, which attaches itself with ovary at a point called hilum. And we have outer integument, inner integument, then nucellus, within nucellus embryo sac, and the various structures in the embryo sac. All these are present. Okay, so in a normal ovule, what is on the topper side? Micropyle is on the topper side. But in anatropous ovule, what is on the top side? Chalaza. Okay, so in a normal orthotropous ovule, chalaza is on the basal side. Okay, and micropyle is on the top side. Okay, hence in the anatropous ovule, if you consider the same thing and name it, chalaza is the basal part and micropyle is the top part. So understand the difference clearly. What is on the orthotropous ovule? The same thing we have to follow in the anatropous, but it is already inverted. So you are going to call this part on top part of the, this as the top part of the ovule, this as the basal part of the ovule, but in the diagram you could see they are in the not in the same way. Did you understand the difference? I am repeating again because we are taking this from the orthotropous ovule. Is that clear? We will learn what is orthotropous ovule little later now. Is that clear so far? Now coming to the next one. Another one feature could be present in the ovule, which is known as raphe. Raphe is the way funicle is attached to the main body of the ovule to some distance so that a ridge appeared. Like that bulgeness appeared over here. So if this is the ovule, say the funicle is here. Funicle doesn't attach here directly. Instead, it goes on, extend itself further so that a small bulge is observed over there, and that kind of ridge appearance is referred as raphe. Now we are going to discuss the various types of the ovule, and you could see here there are 5 types of the ovule basically, and 6 types of the ovule basically. So there are 6 types of the ovule: orthotropous, hemitropous, anatropous, campylotropous, amphitropous, and circinotrophous. These are the 6 different types of the ovule. So how many types of ovules are there? 6 different types of the ovule are there. So first let us look at the orthotropous ovule. Orthotropous ovule is also known as atropous ovule, which is the erect ovule. Erect means straight. So that is a straight ovule. Okay. So in the straight ovule, what you could see that M refers to micropyle here. Okay. What does M refers to? Micropyle. E refers to embryo sac. C refers to chalaza. F refers to funicle. And you could very clearly see that all these falls in a straight line. Sorry, it went wrong. All these falls in a straight line. Okay, can you see that now? So all these things are falling in a straight line over here. What are falling in a straight line? Micropyle, chalaza, funicle. All these 3 are falling in a straight line in a atropous or orthotropous ovule. Is that clear? Okay. Okay, when we were discussing about the anatropous ovule, what did we see? Just look at the anatropous ovule diagram here. The same thing happened. Micropyle and chalaza is falling in the straight line, but funicle is at the side and micropyle is down. Here it is up. Chalaza is up. Okay, but we have to learn every ovule based on atropous ovule. Hence, what is the basal part? Chalaza is always the basal part. Micropyle is always the upper part or the top part. Is it clear? Which is the basal part of the ovule? Chalaza. Which is the top part of the ovule? Micropyle. Whichever type of ovule you are learning, this is what you have to keep it in your mind. Chalaza is the basal part. Micropyle is on the top part. Depending on the type of the ovule, the way you are going to draw them is going to be entirely different. Okay, just keep that in the mind very well. Then comes the next ovule, hemitropous. Hemi means half. Okay, so it is half inverted. So if it is like straight, it is going to be tilted in this way. That is what you are seeing here. Okay, the straight one is slightly bent, and here also you can notice that micropyle and chalaza are in a straight line but at right angles to the funicle. Okay, funicle is at right angle with micropyle and chalaza, the line connecting the micropyle and chalaza. And already we have discussed anatropous ovule, which is a inverted ovule, and 90% of the angiosperms are having anatropous ovule. That we have discussed already. Then comes Campylotropous. The body is curved. Embryo sac is straight. You could see embryo sac straight here, but the body is curved very nicely. The funicle is down. The micropyle and chalaza are not in the straight line. If you are drawing a straight line across this micropyle, this way, horizontal line, they are not falling in the straight line. Okay. Then comes Amphitropous ovule. Amphi means both. Which both? Here it refers to the embryo sac and the ovule body. So ovule body is also curved, embryo sac is also curved like horseshoe. Okay, hence it is Amphitropous ovule. Then comes Circinotrophus. If you look at the diagram, just this part alone, avoiding this curvature on the top, this is very exactly similar to the Atropous ovule, right? Atropous and Circinotrophus are similar except one thing. Then in Atropous, funicle is directly connected to the ovule, whether here funicle is curved over the ovule. So funiculus coiled around the ovule. That is the condition. Funiculus and funicle both are same. Okay. So what are the 6 types of the ovule we have seen? Orthotropous, hemitropous, anatropous, Campylotropous, Amphitropous, and Circinotrophus. And remember this, anatropous ovule diagram is extremely important, and keep it in mind that you are supposed to draw the diagram in this way only, even though in the textbook it is given in the other way. This is the proper diagram which you should draw, practice again and again. So it is an expected question in your paper, both in NEET as well as in the board paper. No doubt you are going to get one question out of this. So remember this very well. Okay, and where the other topics which are coming, all those we are going to learn based on this only. So I am repeating again the components of anatropous ovule. In every ovule there is going to be outer integument, inner integument, or just one layer of integument, then nucellus, then within the nucellus embryo sac with all other components of the embryo sac. Okay, integuments doesn't completely surround it. There is a gap. The gap is the micropyle. Opposite to the micropyle, what we have is chalaza. So in this, the basal part is always chalaza. The top part is micropyle. Why we are calling, even though micropyle is down, why we are calling this as the top part? Because in the atropous ovule, this is the top part. That is a straight ovule. Based on that, we are learning here. So hope this concept is clear. If this concept is clear, you are going to understand the next concept of megasporogenesis very clearly. Thank you.